Tottenham to try and save it. Lukon's useful away by Dallas. Huddleston, Modric, deflected. Oh, it's hit the post, and Lennon has equalised in one of the most astonishing finishes of the season. I do not believe it, and nor do they.
Looking for Ali, and he's broken through. Dele Alli! Oh, that was a cute finish! And is it going to be enough to finish Arsenal off and give Spurs sweet, sweet revenge here?
Stolen on by Defoe, pursued by Van der Vaart, and played in for Gareth Bale! Tottenham back in it! Silkily taken by Gareth Bale, Spurs man of the moment. Spurs were 2-0 down at Arsenal. Van der Vaart to level it up. Rafael Van der Vaart, 2-2. It's quite a game, isn't it always? By Van der Vaart, oh my God! 2-0 down, 3-2 up, Spurs at Arsenal. Absolutely extraordinary, a derby day they will never forget.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Rule the Roost podcast. Flav, I've just seen the news this morning that Kulusevski's out in the North London derby, and
Is he
honestly,
out or is he a doubt? When you
bit
say
of
news,
both.
when
Bit
you
of
say
both,
news, is this based on the tweet by We Are Tottenham TV?
Dan Kilpatrick's gone with it now, saying that he's come back and he's had scans and he's looking doubtful for the North London derby.
I'm not sure you're going to start it anyway. I mean, it's a shame, but it's not going to.
Do you know what I think? I'm really rattled by it. Honestly, I'm really rattled by it. I'm really fucking annoyed. Like, I think he's
What do you mean? How can you be annoyed?
I'm just a ball of like impotent rage. Do you know what I mean? Just like thrash. You know when you like grit your teeth and like ball your fists and you just like breathing through your nose or heaven because you're just annoyed and you don't know where to push
I
it.
can get frustrated. Annoyed's a bit of. Mate, feel how you want to feel. I'm not going to tell you how you should feel. Look, it's frustrating. There always seems to be this issue when we play Arsenal. We lose one of our better players, but I mean, I'm hoping, and we've talked about this when we did the pod on the Fighting Cock the other day. I'm hoping he goes to a 3-5-2 anyway, and Kulusevski doesn't fit in that. And so I think our best chance. Kulusevski doesn't start anyway, as mad as that sounds. But he will, I think he'll go 3-4-3 and Richarlison will start. And in a way, you want Richarlison in this game because he thrives off this shit.
He scored a good goal against them before when he was playing for Everton, didn't he? I think at the Emirates. And he did.
Yeah, the goal. But the goal, yeah, for sure. The goals are a massive part of it. But his needle and his ability to get under the skin and disrupt play when Arsenal want complete control, I think that would be really useful in the game.
Do you see those shades of Van der Vaart in Richarlison? Sort of Lamella-y, Van der Vaart-y kind of?
Yeah, definitely. Sort of shithouses. But Van der Vaart was like different gravy as well. Whereas I don't think Richarlison or certainly not... who did you say?
Lamella.
Yeah, Lamella weren't as good as Van der Vaart was.
I forget that you don't really like Richarlison, do you?
I do like... I haven't seen enough from him yet to be super excited, is all I'm saying. I love him as a person. I've just got... Sometimes I see a player play and I just get that, oh God, I'm not sure about him feeling. And I've been wrong, significantly wrong, many, many times, but I can't help. That's the way I feel. I kind of feel a bit like he's a level below what we need. But I might be I might be completely wrong. And the fact that Conte's playing him and starting him just shows you what I fucking know. Nothing.
I know what you mean to a degree. See, because I'm not going to completely throw you under the bus on it, because I know what you mean. When I heard this news this morning about Kulusevski being out, and people are like, "Oh, don't worry, we've got Richarlison." There is that bit of me. It's like,
yeah, he's not as good as Kulusevski.
No, and so I do know where you come from. I do love Richarlison though. I do think
so do I.
I do think, like you say, for the needle and stuff, and maybe that's kind of what you need. I mean, let's not forget Kulusevski's a fucking gooner anyway, so he's probably not even injured. He's not injured.
I don't. That clip was taken out of context. He was talking about Kulusevski, the interview he did where he was talking about Arsenal.
Oh yeah, I don't care though. Really, I'm just.
Well, you did when it happened. You was quite angry.
I was quite
again.
Angry
he was angry again. Stop getting so angry at everything.
Do I need to go on some sort of mind? What's that app? Yeah, have you seen it? I always get targeted with it, which is probably telling as well.
Mindfulness app or something.
Yeah, I think so. It might be just called Mind. Yeah, and it always does this little when I'm playing on this stupid little Bejeweled Blitz game. I sink time into and I'm. The ads that come up on that, it'll have this little breathing exercise where it's breathe in for 15 seconds, then exhale for 15 seconds. I go along with it, and it's quite nice.
I do. I 100%. I agree that it's a good thing to do. It's so boring though, isn't it? God, just lie down in your bed and listen to us speak for 20 minutes. I was like, I don't want to. I'd rather play UFC 4.
That'll calm me down. I try to read as well before bed. That's one of my mindfulness. I go for
good
walks and reading. That's sort of.
Well, I have to walk the dog every day, but reading before bed. The problem is I generally often go to bed, having had alcohol, and I can't read then. But when I do read, it is the best way to fall asleep.
It's nice, isn't it? Especially if you're reading something boring.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that. I've been lying in bed at times and thinking I can't sleep, and it's 4 a.m. and I need to work tomorrow. I need to get a couple more hours, and I typed in Googled what is the most boring passage of writing on the internet, and it's about rubber production, and it genuinely works. It's actually been created to send you to sleep.
Might have a look for that.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to read Infinite Jest?
No,
because that's a good one to sort of send it. I think what's his name, David Foster Wallace, isn't it?
I've never heard of it.
It's one of those, but it's a very kind of navel gazing hipster book. David Foster Wallace was a bit of an interesting character. There was that I can't remember what the name of it. There was a film made about him with it's quite a big film. I can't remember, but basically, Infinite Jest is one of those things. It's like a rites of passage for any sort of "I am so smart, I am" type people to read, but nobody really. It's blabbering nonsense. I'm sure there's something in there, but I've tried to get through it, and I read a fair amount, and I've tried to get through it, and I can't. So if even I can't get through something, it must be nonsense, Yeah,
it's like Naked Lunch. I don't know if you ever read that. Oh, it's a load of shit.
Really?
Oh, just shit.
Honestly, I think anything. Do you know what as well? Do you know what else is shit? Jack Kerouac. People go on about him. Fucking man, he's a wanker.
He's shit. He's who else is well overrated? Bukowski. But I'm just gonna say it.
Just throw it out there. That's it.
Do you know what's shit as well? Breaking Bad. It is the most overrated show on earth. It's poor.
I'm not with you then.
Yeah, well,
love it.
Fuck you.
Let's talk about Tottenham and Arsenal, because I wanted to get you on, mate, because I always remember I think you and I always have the sort of the most visceral, they stink, I hate them type reactions to
rats. Them. We've got a latest episode, just released the Fighting Cock an hour ago, and it's called Rats, because that's essentially it's perfect for them. They're scurrying little rats that have infiltrated our home.
They're good again though. They're good again now, aren't they?
It's annoying. When you say good again now, that's suggesting that they are going to be good for 3 years, whereas they've played 7 games, mate. They've got some good results. They lost against United. They haven't played anyone decent. They've got a small squad that they've spent a fortune on, and they've got to play another 50 games this season. that what you're seeing now isn't what Arsenal are going to be this season. Trust me. And if it is, it's going to be fucking horrible. But, we beat them and we're above them on points, despite all the furore about them.
I definitely know what you're saying, because I think one of my biggest things about them at the moment is their current level is definitely unsustainable. Like, we're keeping pace with them, and we're not playing to the sort of the best of our ability at all. We all know that. We saw how Spurs were playing at the tail end of last year when we were kind of at it. And Arsenal look like they have kind of come out the block. Gabriel Jesus obviously has his point to prove. He's playing like fucking 2 players in one at the moment. That ain't going to last through an entire season.
Well, yeah, but how about he scored 3 goals?
Yeah,
Son did that in 14 minutes.
I think he's assisted quite a few, though, to be fair. And he's looking good. He is looking good. But if he goes, what is it, Eddie Nketiah, who, again, is all right, isn't he? But
look, it's not... They are a good side. It's not. They can't deny that. It's not. This is a better side than Arsenal have been in the last 5 years. But under Arteta, it's taken him 4 years and probably between 300 and 400 million pounds, and they've recouped nothing. They've received nothing. You could say, 400 million pounds. Well, Spurs have done something similar in the side. Yeah, but we're balancing the books, right? What Arsenal aren't doing, they're speculating, which is, as fans, you want to see, but it's unsustainable. In the same way that their form is unsustainable, so is their spending. They can't do this every summer, spend 130 million pounds. They need to recoup. You can't. The Premier League spending rules is 115 million pounds speculation. I fucking remember. I'm going to butcher it now, but it's essentially unsustainable what they're doing. So this is their lot. They've gambled on this. There isn't going to be another 150 million to spend next year unless they're willing to break FFP rules. So we'll see. But if this is everything they can be, and their squad, like I say, is small, and they have to start rotating, and then they'll have to they'll have to sustain this form through 60 games with a squad that isn't big enough to do it. So don't worry. It's frustrating. It's annoying, but I don't think they'll be there. They might not even finish in the top 4.
What if they like Leicester it though? That's the thing. If they just get one, if they get one Premier League out of the mire of all this. Do you know what I mean? After City have dominated it, Chelsea have dominated it, Liverpool have come so close so many times. If Arsenal just come in the back door, just get a Premier League and fuck off again. After we've had years of getting so close, it would just be so like, and I think typical. That's the fear, right? That's the fear.
I understand.
I understand. Because I've definitely got it. I'm completely unashamed now in the fact that I've been mugging them off for years, but now I'm kind of like, I think they're in a... Because I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. The FFP stuff and everything, I think it's annoying, but at the end of the day, in the sort of the visceral heat of the day itself, the match, the game, when you're playing against them, all that shit goes out the window, right? It's just
of course it does,
about fucking beating them, and...
Or not losing.
Yeah, or not losing, which would be a nice start at the Emirates, right? Because we just... Why do we always shrink there? I don't get it. Even when we've been so much better than them, because we have been better than them. Let's be honest, for close to a decade now.
Under Pochettino, we didn't shrink there, but under everybody else, we have. This will be Conte's first game there. Last season, we had Nuno in charge. Remember, and then when we played them at White Hart Lane with Conte, we demolished them. So. I don't know why though. It's clear that there is some sort of issue, and I'm not sure. Well, we'll see if that issue persists when you've got what Kulusevski says is someone obsessed by success and obsessed by winning. We haven't had as driven a manager probably ever since Bill Nick than Conte. Maybe Birkinshaw because he delivered, but Conte's intensity is something I've never seen before. Pochettino was something else. There was a sort of great manager, but a slightly different approach.
It was emotional, wasn't it? It was like an emotional kind of, come on, we're all in this together, lads. Bottled lightning type thing.
Yeah, but you kind of wasn't surprised when we fell over. We fell over at the final moment. Like, I don't know what it was. And I'm not bashing him. He was brilliant. I love Pochettino still. But Conte's intensity is something else. And look, even if we go to Arsenal and lose, it doesn't really define what's going to happen this season, in my opinion. Although having to deal with that is a different thing. You know, just to fall out of it, having to make fucking talk about it constantly, and then, you know, I don't really get much grief from fans, but you know, anything like that, you just have to sort of suck up and bend over and take, because that is the nature of the beast.
These sort of things, though, they are part of a bigger story, though, right? Because I definitely know what you mean, and I've seen a lot of people say this, that even if we lose to Arsenal, it doesn't matter what we're doing.
It matters.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think people don't mean it
matters.
doesn't matter in that sense, but in terms of our overall ambition, if we keep winning games like we have been this season against teams that we normally slip up against, that's how you win titles and things like that. That's how Conte won it with Chelsea. He just kept winning all of the games, and then when it came to the top 6 games, let's hope, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you're sort of looking at things like these games, like we're top of the table, right? It's a top of the table clash already.
Yeah.
It's against our biggest rivals in a ground that I think we've won twice. We've won twice at the Emirates in its existence. Once in the League Cup, once in the Premier League.
That's right. Yeah.
Like these things, it does tell part of a bigger picture, doesn't it? Right? If you want to sort of talk about a Tottenham that's changed, that's a different Tottenham under a team like Conte, under a manager like Conte.
Yeah.
You've got to be turning up in these games that we don't normally turn up against. I mean, Danny Kelly was going on about this on the Athletics pod the other day, saying that he interviewed Martin Jol once and was saying one of the main things you've got to do, Martin, is make sure you beat Arsenal and you beat Chelsea, because we never beat them. And he said that Martin Jol was quite affronted by that. He was like, you know, results that have happened before I was here have got nothing to do with me, so, you know, don't bring that to me. And it's like, but it doesn't.
And he did beat Chelsea.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
First time in I think Premier League or something.
21 years or something mental.
But we cannot. I mean, that game last year, the Nuno Espirito Santo game, I mean, yeah, I know it was the Manchester United game after we got sacked, but that Arsenal game was the end of it for Nuno. Everybody at that point knew this fella doesn't have it. Like, this is not. I've never, ever, even when we've been shit, mate. Have you ever seen us turn up at Arsenal as bad as that?
No, it was appalling. I mean, we had a 20-minute spell in the second half where we should have had a penalty, and Kane missed a sitter, and you know we won. What was it, 3-1 in the end, weren't it? So,
yeah,
but clutching at straws massively. We weren't. It was horrendous.
They could have been 5 or 6 clear in that first half, man. Like they were pretty profligate in that. But don't you think, like, if we, you know, because there is a lot of like lauding Conte, and I'm not just playing into this, I don't really like Conte shit. I'm just saying, if we are kind of to believe that Conte is this kind of messiah, he is this second coming, he is somebody that's going to take Tottenham on to this next level, it surely is games like this where we have to, like, it is in isolation. It doesn't matter about an entire season. This game is everything, right? He has to just put everything into this.
I mean, yes, but as a fan, yes, but as a manager, he will deliver the things that we expect him to do over 38 Premier League games. There is a reason why Spurs are unbeaten thus far, and some games, like Chelsea, it didn't work, but we were there and we got the point in the end. I'm desperate for us to come and turn up and actually play Arsenal and be involved in the flow of the game, whereas often when we go there, we're just sort of passengers until we get a moment to break, or from a corner, or from some sort of set piece. But if he plays a 3-4-3, I think we are going to see more of the same, where we're sitting back and we hand over the midfield to Arsenal. And that's why I want to play a 5-man mid, or put 5 across the middle, or 3 in the middle rather. That makes more sense, because it means that it will be competitive. But it'll be the same story of us sitting and waiting for the counter. So, because that's what we're best at. That's what our playing staff enable us to do best. There's no coincidence that Jose Mourinho and Conte have played a similar style, because 2 of the very best managers in the world think that that's the best way for us to play football. So that must be the truth, right? You can't argue with Jose Mourinho and Conte playing a similar style. They must see the same things. So if that is the way we're going to play, and it may not be throughout the season, but currently that's the way we're going to play, we have to just accept it. But it does mean that it will seem as though Arsenal have control and are playing better while we sit and wait for opportunities for them to mess up. But I want 3 in that midfield just because I think it's weak. I think they're like physically weak. Like that, if Vieira plays, he's like tiny. It's like fucking Højbjerg should be able to snap him within 5 minutes. Give him too much space and he'll control the game. So it's yeah, I don't know, man. I'm expecting us to start slowly, but it does mean if that does that we should all start screaming at the rooftops that this isn't working. It's just this is the way we play and this is the way we have got results. And Spurs under Conte don't lose easily. We don't lose typically. You know, look at the amount of was it 2 league games? He's lost 3 league games since he's joined.
I think so. Yeah, not many at all.
And in that time, we've played everybody, home and away, pretty much, apart from Arsenal. You know, we went to Liverpool, should have beaten them twice last season.
That Anfield game it's the best I've ever seen us play there. I think even times when we've won, you know.
I know.
Which is, I think, once or twice. I remember Luka Modric scoring that penalty, didn't he? I think
2-0. Yeah.
It's yeah. I think that's my sort of the biggest. Obviously, the biggest fear is that we just get completely dominated by them because it is like you say, there are those 2 contrasting styles, right? We're a team that likes to cede a lot of possession, let the other team have the ball and let them kind of just sort of pass it about pretty limply. We've seen us do that all season pretty much, right? And be pretty deadly on the counter-attack because, you know, we've got the players that we have, and hopefully now with Son looking the way that he is, that's going to be a big concern for them. My big fear with them though is that like they do just have that Jesus. Look, for as much as we want to dig him out and say he's whatever, he's comparable with our 4th choice player in Richarlison, all that type of stuff. Jesus is still a good player, right? And if
he's brilliant.
My fear is that if they dominate the ball early, nick a goal like they often do, you know, they often nick a goal early against us, on, 15, 20 minutes or so. They get one of those and then maybe get another one. They can just sit back, and without someone like Kulusevski there, I don't know about us kind of creating chances. I
don't think they will sit back. I think they're pretty gung-ho. It was against Manchester United where Arteta showed a tactical naivety where he put Martinelli as I think it was a left back at one stage where he's just going for the game. I don't think they know to play one way, which is possession-based attacking football, which, as a fan of Arsenal's, you would think that they were really enjoying that. I don't think that they stop if we go, you know, if they get a goal or 2. But also know that if they do score early, it's not over, man. This is, yeah. I mean, you sound quite anxious about the game. I mean, we're all anxious. I fucking hate it. I wish it wasn't happening, but I'm more confident, I think, than you are.
Probably, and you know what? I'm not usually this anxious about the Arsenal game. There's just something about it this year because we're both. I found myself getting increasingly more anxious about Spurs. And I've spoken about this before. Just seeing like Kane sort of in the last throes of his Tottenham career, Son in the last throes of his, Lloris. It is starting to feel to me anyway a bit. And I'm not trying to be all neggy about it. Like we've had a great time and everything. And I'm sure Tottenham will be back again at some point down the line. We saw that when the Bale, Modric, everyone like that era finished. There's always going to be a new era. There's going to be new players, and we're starting to see it with Kulusevski and people. But at the same time, you know, in Kane, Son, Lloris, we have 3 truly world-class players. We got a world-class manager in Conte, and I am sort of just feeling that burden of like, I really just in my lifetime once I want to see Tottenham just. A Premier League or a Champions League, just one of the big ones, please. You know,
yeah.
And like this to me is like, even you know, my dad's 70 now, and my dad's sort of saying like, you know, he's saying like, yeah, I've never seen players like Kane and Son ever. Like Hoddle was great, you know, he can sort of just about remember Greaves and stuff. He loved Greaves when he was growing up, but you know, not as an adult sort of thing. And he's just kind of like, you know, just with these two, it was like Son and Kane, there's something else. And these are the sort of players that you win leagues with, you know. And for us to like go through this, not do anything, and then to see them sneak up. Because do you know what I think a lot of it is Twitter. And you really touched on something about the Twitter algorithm, how you don't follow these people, but you still get served tweets from people
Mate, I hate it.
Wellbeast. Do you see him on Twitter? One of
Yeah,
those
but
little names.
I mute any Arsenal account. I just mute. As soon as I see them, I mute them.
But
so
don't you find it even when you mute accounts, you still see some of them sometimes?
if someone quote tweets them, it happens. Look, I don't spend much time on Twitter. I very rarely read it because of this stuff, all that, and I've done my best to close down those topics. Like it will say, European football, and then you say I'm not interested in this tweet, and the Twitter just finds a way. The algorithm finds a way of serving you this stuff because it's lifeblood. Obviously, it's an algorithm, so it doesn't know what it's doing, but it is fucking shit to use. Twitter is an absolute shit app. There are some good stuff on there, good things happen, but generally, I think Twitter is a massively negative place. So I don't spend much time on it, other than to tweet stuff from Fighting Cock account or mine. And when I tweet something, typically I'll mute the conversation because I don't want to, especially if it's football related. I don't want to hear from fans of other football clubs. I couldn't give a fuck what any of them have to say.
Are you hopeful about the game? Do you think we can beat them?
I mean, of course we can beat them. I'm hopeful that we won't lose. And you'd probably take a draw now, right? So for that, I think that anxiety, if you took this out, if you took out what the game means, you can't talk about it in that way really, because it doesn't matter how hopeful you are of getting a result. You have to go through it, and that's the painful bit. Even like if we get beat, you can then process it and deal with it. But I've talked about this a lot on the Fighting Cock, is not knowing is worse than knowing, and even if knowing is us losing 2-0 or 3-0, then you can kind of deal with it. But right now we're in this moment of not knowing, and but this again, like I keep saying, this isn't the Tottenham that have been there, through the last 30 years, and then since it opened, it's got to be open about 15, 16 years now, but Highbury before it, this Tottenham is different. And it's been different for a while, and we haven't been turned over. I mean, the Nuno bit was unfortunate, but we haven't been turned over massively there for a long time. And under Pochettino era, and even the Redknapp era, as mental as those games were, it's a different thing now. And with Conte, it's a different thing. And with the quality of our squad now, it's a different thing. So I'm more. I get the jeopardy because they're top of the league, and them winning 7 out of 8 is impressive, and you got to look at them. Not that I do, but they will start to think about being title challengers then, and you worry about the momentum that they've built if they beat us. But on paper, if you remove the emotion, they're not better than us. I don't think so.
No, I think we've got a much better squad than they do.
And it's small. It's small. The squad is small. There's very little depth there, and if they get a couple of injuries and they start playing games, and then they've got to play City, Liverpool. The games in October are pretty horrible for them, obviously, because they've had such an easy start. I don't know if you saw the article. It said statistically this easiest start in the Premier League, hands down,
really?
Like on what's expected based on the performances of the teams. And,
you think though, even with that stuff though, they've done it though. At least they've won them,
It's hard, regardless of who you're playing in the Premier League. It's difficult to do what they've done. But in the run at the end of last season, we had to win 6 on the bounce, and won 5 and drew away at Anfield. So it's we can do it as well. We haven't even clicked into gear yet.
No,
and we could finish. We could be top by lunchtime, or by the 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday. We could be top of the league, and we haven't played well at all. Really, we've been functional, and it's been a little bit stop-start, and Kane, Son, I haven't been firing, and yet we could be top of the league, the best team in the league by 3 o'clock. So what happens when Spurs start to click?
Well, I mean that's what we've got to hope for, isn't it? Really, that's the.
I mean, if it starts on this game, it'd be amazing. But if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. As painful as it would be, it's not the end of the world.
It would just be, I don't know, gives them a lot. I know for work and all that sort of stuff, you find yourself talking to an array of different characters and fans from different clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
When people aren't in performance mode, if you like.
Yeah.
What are most of these other people thinking? Some of the Arsenal lot or whoever you speak to.
Spurs, Lee Judges is specifically the one I speak to, and I've got to say, and I've said it many times, like, he fucking hates Spurs, and I respect it. But like off camera, when we're just chatting and there's no needle involved, they fully respect what's happening at Spurs and the fact that we've got Conte. They don't like it, and the fact we've strengthened our squad considerably. They don't like any of it. They're as worried about us. They're probably more worried about us than we are about them, to be fair. And that's what I would say. I think generally we are getting under the skin of a lot of people. People don't like the fact that Tottenham are in the position that they're in. They still are very dismissive. All fans, in terms of what we've achieved in inverted commas, all they do, all of them, all the time, is talk about the trophies. That's it. And because there's nothing left for them. We've taken away everything. We're not that shit yellow-bellied club anymore.
It's so boring, though, isn't it? It's such a boring.
But it's all they've got, mate. Because if they don't do that, then they have to admit that Tottenham are a problem for them, a bigger problem for Man City than Man United will ever be this season. They don't like that because it's not the status quo. They like Tottenham being, they play good football, but fundamentally they roll over for the big teams.
Is that my old mate Boovy who's giving you a bit of that?
Boovy's a fucking, he knows what he's doing, and he's
world class at it. He's brilliant.
I love him. I absolutely love him to bits. I love talking to him. I love watching him go, and his tweets are it's the same. It's the same post pretty much. There's Van Dijk's finished, and there isn't even discussion about it, and the little shrug emoji. The geezer's in Ibiza, and he's still doing it. So I rate it completely. And the thing is what can you say to him? What can you say? He's heard, you're a glory hunter, a million times. It doesn't affect him anymore. And he's witnessing a team that will run away with this league probably.
I used to see, when I worked I used to work with him at 90 Min a few years back, and I just remember going and sort of filming the little studio show that we used to do with Troops. Yeah. Troops used to come in.
God, fucking hell.
And I think Boovy must have been probably 19, 20 or something at that sort of point.
Yeah.
And just seeing him run rings around somebody because Troops is good at what it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but in terms of his shtick and what he does, he sticks to it and he knows what he's doing. He also knows how to kind of command these spaces, if you like.
Yeah.
And just seeing like I say, seeing a Bowie 19, 20 years old just sort of run rings around him and genuinely wind him up. Genuinely, sometimes when it'd be finished, there'd be a bit of tension in the air. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, really? So he took it seriously?
Sort of, yeah. I think sometimes people do. I cannot do any of that type of stuff. The sort of butting heads.
Yeah. Whenever you used to do, you'd get 5 Live or TalkSport and they'll get, or Sky Sports are awful for it, where they'd go, I want 2 fans on, right? We're going to give you 30 seconds each, right? And I want you to tell me why Harry Kane is better than Thierry Henry. I'm 41. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't want to have this slanging match with Troops or whoever else it might be. It's embarrassing. It's not. It's like, let's wheel out the fans to perform and look at them. Look how they're shouting at each other. Isn't it funny? Fuck off.
Have you ever? I don't think you'll mind me telling the story. Dan Kilpatrick.
You know too much.
Dan Kilpatrick's got a good story of when he was kind of a fledgling journo. I think it's when he was ESPN still back in the day.
Yeah.
And he got approached by somebody. I can't remember who it was. No, it might be when he was actually freelance still, when he was doing the Tottenham Way stuff. And I think he got approached by Sky or somebody to come and do a North London derby preview. And they were obviously very sketchy about the details. They were like, look, we're going to get you on, and what we're going to do is we're going to get you and an Arsenal fan to sit in a cab, and we're going to film you just having a discussion in the back of a black cab going to the stadium kind of thing, and then you'll jump out and whatever, and it'll all just be a discussion noise. And Dan was kind of like, oh, yeah, I suppose so. But
you kind of have to do these things when you're coming up, and these are ways for you to earn money, and also build a profile for your podcast.
And I was guessing he must have sort of imagined, well, they know what I am. I'm a writer, and I'm not a big exuberant character or anything like. It's not a dig at Dan, but I'm just saying, he's not like a big character.
He's professional.
Yeah, exactly. And so he said he turned up for the. He turned up to fucking hell. He turned up to shoot this thing, and he's standing by this cab with with the production crew, and they were like, "Oh yeah, he'll be the Arsenal fan." And they never told him who it was. The Arsenal fan will be here in a minute. It'll be all good. Yeah. And then moments later, he just sees round the corner, Bully, the pirate. Just walk around the corner and walk over to Dan, and they were like, Bully. So here's Dan, the Arsenal fan, and Dan said he even put his hand out to give him a handshake, and Bully was like, I'm not touching that. And
my God.
And Kilpatrick said at that moment he turned to the production and was like, I'm not doing this, sorry. I'm not doing it. Yeah.
He said no.
Yeah, he was just like, actually, you know what? Nah, I'm not doing it.
No, I get him, man. I respect him for that, because a lot of these production companies, they don't give a shit. They just want you. They want the content. They don't care if they're putting you in a situation you're not comfortable with or would never do. Which is why the first thing I mentioned whenever I'm asked to do this stuff is who's the Arsenal fan? Who is it? If someone says it's Lee Judges, I'm like, I'll do it all day. I'll talk to him about football, Spurs, Arsenal, whatever it might be, because I know he's not an arsehole, right? But when I did the Lad Bible stuff, got a call from Connor, who's the producer, one of the producers over there, and he's pretty much a mate now. And I went, who is it? Because he wants to do this. This is a format where you sit on a table and they give you some questions. You have to argue, and they move the point. You strongly agree to disagree. It's called. And he said it's Ty, and I'm like, "Fuck, mate, what are you asking me to do?" And I'm sitting, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it. But if you, it's my job fundamentally in that instance. Do I do this? Does it damage me? Do I look like a wanker for even engaging in this conversation? Can I stand it? For 45, and it was agony because I did it in the end. But also, Lad Bible's it's a good platform. It isn't like a lot of some of the other channels out there that are not as they've turned the corner of what they used to be, and they're really making great content, I think. So I decided to do it, and yeah, it was bad. The show was all right, but it was tough. It was just madness. It was nonsense. It wasn't something I
want. I saw him on the thing with Bardi and Nathan as well.
Overlap, yeah.
Yeah, again, I always just wonder, what the producers are, because we both work in a similar sort of field in this type of stuff. Surely,
don't produce him.
When you're creating content, right? You want to know that things are going to have a good kind of. They're going to have a good flow to them, right? They're going to sort of actually have some meaning to them. And just seeing somebody
he hijacked it basically, which is not what it was about.
I don't know.
Do you know the first time he went on the overlap, him and Carragher had a back and forth, which was relatively interesting because it was funny to having a fan having a go at an ex-Premier League footballer. So I can get that, I understand it, and they clips it up and it went mental. And I think that's what they were looking for, a bit more of that. And he obviously, Arsenal, all Ty is Arsenal. He doesn't see the production company. He doesn't see what's doing. He's just, I've got Arsenal as my agenda, and that's it. But that's what you're getting, and he's paid handsomely, as well. That's the other thing, well paid for this stuff. He's another one though. As soon as the camera's off, I thought he just wore his Arsenal gear all the time. He got into normal clothes. I was like, what are you doing? It was an okay conversation. It wasn't about football. It was a normal conversation. He turned into a normal human being. But all of us to some degree are playing a character.
I'm not.
No, you're not.
I'm just,
But I have to pretend to give a shit about the stuff you're talking about, right? So that's not completely genuine. Not talking about Spurs, talking about your Spurs views, obviously, or the fighting cock is with Spurs lads is fine. But sometimes on the overlap, you're just I have to. What's the point of me being here if I'm not going to engage in these things? So But I wouldn't choose to do it on my podcast, for example.
The frustrating thing with these type of formats, though, ultimately, is that, in that level of what have you ever won reductive stuff, it's like, well, we have won a lot of stuff, but yeah, we haven't won anything for a while. But placing Tottenham in a conversation like this, it does require that sort of more nuanced take on it, in that, look, in a sort of footballing landscape dominated by the likes of Man City and Chelsea, we have come a long way. We've really come a long way from this kind of whatever tin pot dead team that you lot all like to talk about over and over and over again. We're not that anymore. No. And you can't handle it. Mate, how are we going to play? How are we going to play against Arsenal? Do you think, because I can't see him ditching his, even with this Kulusevski news, I know we all want him to put the 3 in the middle, but he just isn't going to do it, is he?
No, he's going to play a 3-4-3, I think, with Richarlison, Kane and Son, and hope that we can have some control of the midfield. And if we can control the midfield in a 3-4-3, then we're going to be really dangerous. And Arsenal defence will have to play its very best to keep us out. But what we've seen thus far this season, that hasn't been the case, even against lesser teams like Leicester in the first hour of that game. They had a lot of control, a lot of the ball. But this is also the same system that he played at the end of last season, where we were slapping teams and going to Anfield and outperforming them and deserving a win. So a lot of it based on the relationship between Son and Kane and how good they played together. Do you remember the Aston Villa game when we beat them 4-0?
Well, they were disgusting that day.
Yeah, they were. They were super overly zealous and aggressive, and they were disgusting. But they didn't let us settle, and that's what they were able to do.
Son and Kane, they were just disgustingly good. But yeah, Villa were vile as well. But
you know what I mean, though, is that they tried to stop us, and because the chemistry between the 3 of them up top was unreal, there's nothing they could do about it. If Son and Kane play well against Arsenal, then there's very little they can do to stop them. And we're starting to see that we saw it against Leicester. If they're clicking, then Spurs will play well. But we've been getting in a position where we've been giving them the ball in this 3-4-3 system, giving them the ball, and they've not performed. And you're relying on players as good as Kane and Son to be at least 80% of their ability. But for large parts of the season, apart from Kane's movement in the box and his tapping goals, he's got 5 and 6, or 5, 6 and 7, whatever he's got. But the chemistry and combination between the front 3 hasn't been there, and certainly between Son and Kane. But they've scored and assisted more goals than anybody in Premier League history. It's only a matter of time before it clicks again. So it's all fine.
Jack, why are you so calm about all this?
Because what can we do about it? What can we do?
Get angry and just
why? All right, you finish this, you get angry, you punch a wall, and then what?
Shout about them being, dead and dusty ballers and all that sort of thing.
I'm not. Look, what will be will be. We can't do anything about it. It's as stressful as it is anyway. But we are a very, very good side with some world-class players, with a world-class manager that will drill into them how important it is. This isn't Martin Yole's Tottenham. As good as fun as that was that time. This isn't them. This isn't the team in the 90s. As I've said on this pod already, we're different. Different gravy now. Different club, different mentality, everything. It's they'll be worried about us coming there. And what does that say? How long has it been about them being worried about us going to there? Maybe 5 years that's been the case. They'll be worried about us.
Do you remember? I'm sure you do remember. Back we had Marcus Leafby when we were doing the Fighting Cup together.
Yeah.
And he came on for that episode that time, but then afterwards he wanted to do that little mini documentary about the North London derby, and that was like peak Yole era, wasn't it?
No, that was it Yole? I thought that would have been no, it wouldn't. It's not Yole because we hadn't started the podcast.
Was it early Redknapp?
Yeah, it was when like Adebayor and we went.
And it was going to the Emirates, wasn't it? And we were just like, this is the season when we turn the corner. This is it. And he did that big like dramatic. It was a really nice little Is
Yeah,
it still
was.
online anywhere? I don't know. But...
Liftby's Big Ten it was. I think it is. This is us 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I think now.
Yeah, it was all poetic and all this sort of nice stuff, and then it ends on that freeze frame of us celebrating us going 2-0 up.
Yeah. And then it stopped.
Yeah, and then there's just a line, unfortunately Tottenham lost 5-2, didn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? Because it completely obviously fucked their whole production as well. Like,
that's it, mate. Yeah, exactly. Look, and we got over that, didn't we? We got past that. It was fine.
just about.
Yeah, we did, and we, things turned, the corner turned, and like I say, like we're set up to, I know it's not about this, and there's much more to football, but financially, we are bigger than Arsenal now, and that's fundamentally what drives sustained performance. Is about how much money your club generates.
No, you're becoming like Mo Hader, mate. Like, none of this like net spend.
I'm not talking about net spend. I'm talking about the amount of money and the size of our football club now. It means that we can never
beat him.
We will beat them.
Do you think the internet makes this stuff worse? Because
fucking tons worse.
I was talking to some lad on Twitter the other day about, like, he was just like, you know what the funny thing is? I grew up seeing them win the league at White Hart Lane, but I remember that day being happy because we'd actually drawn with them, and not lost to them.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, I know. I was obviously pissed off that they did, but I sort of my analogy to him was like, it was like ants getting angry at the noise of a jumbo jet flying overhead. Like we were just so far away from them that it didn't. Do you know what I mean? No, it didn't really feel like.
That's great. Ants. Yeah. Look, look. The internet has made following football infinitely worse.
I find it horrible now. It's so anxiety ridden. But maybe it's just because we're good, though. Maybe Tottenham being good has coincided with the internet existing, because it feels so much more fraught now, because it's like, please don't go back to where we were, Tottenham, even though it was oddly more sort of comfortable and fun.
100% it was. So, like, the mid-table mediocrity is a very comfortable place to exist in.
Isn't it?
There's no stress there. There's no expectation and no stress, and the inevitable arrival of failure was almost comforting. The problem with us when we were going for the league under Pochettino is that every game, last year, when we had Burnley at home, one of the most nerve-wracking experiences of my... It was absolutely horrible, and that was Burnley at home because so much was riding on it. And because we're not used to it as Spurs fans, we haven't got the DNA. We haven't grown up, certainly of our generation. What are we, the millennials, I suppose?
Yeah.
The millennials, is that all we've experienced as Spurs is abject failure, pretty much. So these moments of where the fact that we've transformed into this different club, which is built regardless of whether we actually get success, it is built for it, and that is strange for us. That's not who we certainly our generation. That's not what the Tottenham we knew, and that's why I think it's uncomfortable when every game feels like a cup final. But I'm saying all this. Liverpool fans think they're going to win the league every year. I spoke to another, Paul Machin, who does the Redmen TV, and him after a draw, like that Fulham draw, it was like I've never seen him so low. So I think it's the same for everybody else. Like, do you not think that hashtag Arteta out won't be trending several times this season?
Oh yeah, absolutely will be. And there's going to be people there with their powder dry waiting for it, because so many of them went big. I mean, I think somebody posted up a little screenshot of like their form last. It's kind of like, just remember, this is where we've come from with Arteta. It was like I think it was like their last 12 games. They'd won like lost about 9 out of 12 or something. And I remember this run thinking like, how is he going to survive this? How is he going to get through this?
Yeah.
And you know what football fandom's like. There were people even like it when Pochettino was in charge of us, when we were challenging for titles and getting to Champions League finals. There was still a hardcore of people that were waiting for those losses to say, this isn't the man to take us forwards. We're never going to get anywhere under him. And people would probably say I'm the same about Conte. Because I've been pretty open about the fact I don't love him. And every time I'll criticise him, people will probably... And there probably is a part of me that feels more emboldened to be more critical of him when
you went early,
when we're not doing well. Yeah, But I like to think I'm not kind of. I'm big enough and opinionated enough to actually own when I have said something wrong. I went big on Kulusevski at first. The first time I watched Kulusevski, I was like, nah, this kid's wank. You know, like, he's just not it. And he's fucking unbelievable now. I think he's probably our best player.
You went after 20 minutes, didn't you?
I think so, yeah. I was one of them. Look at him, gangly legged. He ain't got nothing.
His gait ain't right. His gait's
that
all
was
wrong.
it. His gait. The gait was the word. I think I just saw somebody else say gait. I was like, I'm going to use that word. That's a good way of putting it. You know. Oh,
be fine, mate. All be good. And if it isn't, we've been here before.
Tell us all about, mate. There's something very special happening for the North London derby in the Fighting Cock world, isn't there? What's going on?
Well, the Fighting Cock Social is back. I tweeted it's the first one in 3 years. We did one about 6 months ago. I completely forgot that we did.
Well, what one was that? Did I go to that one?
It was. I think I invited you, but I don't think you came. It was the Bournemouth. Oh no, we were playing Brentford. I think we drew 1-1 at home, and then we watched the Dillian White and Fury fight later.
Did you do it at the old place? Was it O-Bar, the one in Waterloo?
EV Bar, yeah, we did it there. But we've now got it this place called the Temple Brew House.
It's amazing.
Have you been there?
Yeah, I went there just randomly off the cuff. So one of my old colleagues was like a real. I'm not that big into. I like beer as much as anybody else, but you know, some people are passionate about beer.
Yeah.
My old colleague, he won't be listening, but Carlos, shout out to Carlos. He's a beer man. He loves all the different ones and whatever, all these different types of brews and stuff. And Temple Brew House, we went to after work once because we were in the area. He was like, got to go there. Come on. I'll treat you to one.
Yeah.
That's how he used to talk. And and we sat down in this little cave almost.
Yeah, you go downstairs and it's
50 different pints you can have.
Yeah, before your boots. They're doing like breakfast stuff and sort of simple sort of burgers and whatnot if you're hungry. But from 10 o'clock it opens. It's to be honest, it'll be sold out by this afternoon, so I'm not sure when this is coming. But we're trying to work something out where you get people there get a free beer. Everyone gets a free beer if Kane scores or something like that. I don't know the full details, bit of stuff they're coming up with. But yeah, man, it's a good little venue, and we're gonna do lots of other bits and pieces with them going forward. But yeah, if you haven't been to a Fighting Cock Social, this is not a bad time to start showing up because they are a lot of fun.
They are great. I watched the majority. So Barcelona. I watched
great.
the Man City away when Sterling scored when Sterling scored the goal right at the end, and I just stormed out and started walking towards the train, and the door just flung open, and Charlotte just like howled out the door like, "It was offside!" And I just ran back in, like sprinted back in to see everyone like, yes! Jumping about like it was a goal.
I love how you left your wife.
Yeah, just fuck it. It's all it can all go to shit. Everything.
The great thing about it is that the whole point of it was that it's ours. That bar is ours. It's Spurs for the day. It's a Spurs pub, so there's no one coming in that isn't Tottenham. And you know that everybody's in it together, especially a game like this, which is going to be so nerve-wracking for everybody. Everybody's in there together, feeling the same thing. And if we score, if we go one up, it will go off. It will absolutely go off.
Have you got anyone hard there, just in case it gets rushed? Do you know what I mean? If some Arsenal fans hear about it, and
because that's going to happen. Yeah, John Bass is going to be there. He'll deal with it.
Just pick them all up when they chuck them.
Yeah, he'll probably be wearing his Stone Island as well, so they've got no chance.
Right, well, thank you for coming on today, mate. I appreciate it. It's very last minute, and I've appreciated you trying to get me back in a bit more of an even keel, sort of listening to this, because well, do you know what? I'm going to finish recording this. I'm going to go back to being like, fucking Kulusevski.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake. Fucking Arsenal.
You can't do anything about it. Don't let them make your day worse. They've got no idea how you're feeling, right? And you're allowing Arsenal Football Club to impact how you feel currently, and you should never allow them to do that.
It's usually Chelsea rent-free in my head, but it's this lot now. Pigs,
rats.
Stink. Fucking stink. Come on, you Spurs.